A humble young woman was late for her flight, but she decided to help an elderly lady at the airport, not knowing that her millionaire son was the... Before the story begins, comment below which city you're watching this video from. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Enjoy the story, everyone. The bustle of San Francisco International Airport on a foggy Tuesday morning surrounded Olivia Anderson as she rushed through Terminal 3. Her eyes darted between her watch and the departures board, calculating if she had enough time to grab coffee before her meeting across town. At 28, Olivia balanced her growing career as a video editor with caring for her mother, Helen, who was battling cancer. Dreams of becoming a screenwriter were tucked away in late-night writing sessions after long days of work and hospital visits. Amid the crowd, she noticed an elderly woman looking confused, studying the departure screens with furrowed brows. The woman's elegant attire and pearl necklace contrasted with her obvious disorientation. "Excuse me, are you having trouble finding your gate?" Olivia approached her, setting aside thoughts of that much-needed coffee. "Oh dear. Yes, I am." The woman's voice carried the refined tone of old San Francisco money. "I'm supposed to be on the 10:45 to New York, but these boards might as well be in hieroglyphics today." Olivia smiled. "I know the feeling. Let me see your boarding pass." "Eleanor Williams," the woman introduced herself, handing over her first-class ticket. "My son usually handles these things, but he mixed up the departure time." "Gate 74 on the other side of the terminal," Olivia explained, pointing toward the correct direction. "I can walk you there if you'd like." Eleanor accepted gratefully, and as they made their way through the terminal, she spoke of her trip to visit her sister in Manhattan. Olivia listened, offering a steady arm when needed, finding unexpected comfort in the woman's graceful conversation. Neither noticed the tall figure watching from a distance. Michael Williams had realized his mistake about his mother's flight time and rushed to the airport, only to find a young woman already assisting her. Something about the genuine kindness in the stranger's demeanor made him pause. He snapped a quick photo, thinking his mother might want to know who had helped her, then disappeared into the crowd of travelers. 3 weeks later, Olivia's phone rang with an unexpected call. Our colleague from her production company mentioned that Eleanor Williams, yes, those Williamses, the banking family, had been asking about her. "She says you helped her at the airport," her colleague explained. "She wants to thank you properly." Before Olivia could process this, an invitation arrived for afternoon tea at the Williams estate in Pacific Heights, one of those imposing mansions she'd only glimpsed from afar while driving along the scenic streets of the exclusive neighborhood. Curiosity overrode hesitation, and that Saturday, Olivia found herself at the wrought iron gates of a magnificent Victorian home overlooking the bay. The gardens alone seemed larger than her entire apartment building in the Mission District. Marcus, the butler, greeted her with formal courtesy and escorted her through rooms adorned with art and antiques to a sun-drenched conservatory where Eleanor waited. "My dear girl," Eleanor rose to greet her. "How wonderful of you to come." What began as a thank you tea evolved into hours of conversation. Eleanor, at 70, possessed the sharp wit and curiosity that transcended their age difference. She asked about Olivia's work, listened intently to her screenwriting aspirations, and shared stories of old San Francisco that made the city seem like a character itself. As the afternoon light began to fade across the bay, Eleanor insisted Olivia return the following week. There was something in the older woman's eyes, perhaps loneliness, perhaps genuine interest, that made Olivia agree without hesitation. Neither could have imagined how this simple beginning would unravel threads of a past long buried beneath the foundations of both their lives. By the fourth tea at the Williams estate, Olivia had grown comfortable in Eleanor's presence. Their conversations flowed effortlessly between literature, film, and life's unexpected turns. The conservatory became a sanctuary where age and social standing dissolved into genuine connection. "You remind me so much of myself at your age," Eleanor confided one afternoon, passing Olivia a leather-bound photo album, full of stories waiting to be told. It was during this peaceful moment that Michael Williams first made his deliberate appearance. He entered with the casual confidence of someone accustomed to commanding rooms, though his expression tensed upon seeing Olivia. "Mother, I didn't realize you had company," he said, his voice measured. Eleanor brightened. "Michael, perfect timing. This is Olivia Anderson, my airport savior." Olivia extended her hand, noticing how his gaze assessed her. Not unkindly, but with unmistakable reservation. At 37, Michael carried the weight of the Williams financial empire on his broad shoulders, having taken over after his father's passing 3 years earlier. "Ah, the mysterious Good Samaritan," he said, shaking her hand. "Mother's been singing your praises for weeks." Their introduction was interrupted by a call Michael claimed couldn't wait. As he excused himself, Olivia caught the protective glance he cast toward his mother. In subsequent visits, Michael appeared with increasing frequency, always under the pretense of forgotten documents or urgent family matters. He would linger, observing their interactions while maintaining a careful distance. His questions, though polite, carried undertones of skepticism. "Video editing must be fascinating work," he remarked during one such intrusion. "Is that where you see your future?" "Actually, I'm working on a screenplay," Olivia replied, sensing the subtle interrogation beneath his civil tone. "Ambitious," he nodded, his expression unreadable. "Creative pursuits are fulfilling, though rarely lucrative." The implication hung in the air. Was he suggesting she had financial motives for befriending Eleanor? Despite his suspicions, Olivia couldn't help noticing other aspects of Michael. How his serious demeanor softened when discussing the estate's gardens, the gentle way he adjusted his mother's shawl, the occasional flash of humor that transformed his features. One afternoon, arriving early for tea, Olivia wandered through the mansion's sprawling gardens. The carefully maintained roses caught her attention. Something about their arrangement stirred a distant memory she couldn't quite grasp. "They were my father's pride." Michael's voice startled her. He stood a few feet away, jacket discarded, his usual corporate armor replaced by a simple button-down with rolled sleeves. "Though I can't take credit for their beauty. Our gardener planted them decades ago." "They're extraordinary," Olivia replied, noticing how the tension between them eased slightly among the flowers. "You seem genuinely fond of my mother," he said after a pause, more statement than question. "I am. She's remarkable." Michael studied her face. "She doesn't trust easily. Neither do I." "I'm not here for anything beyond her company," Olivia stated firmly, meeting his gaze. Something shifted in his expression, not quite acceptance, but a fracture in his wall of suspicion. Time will tell. Neither could have anticipated how prophetic those words would prove, nor how the garden where they stood held keys to a shared past neither remembered. The roses, planted by hands connected to them both, silently witnessed this moment of tentative truce. As they walked back toward the house, Michael hesitated. "My mother mentioned your mother is ill. I hope her treatment is progressing well." The unexpected kindness in his voice caught Olivia off guard. "Thank you. She's fighting hard." For just a moment, the armor between them thinned. Two people connected by concern for those they loved, standing at the edge of a truth waiting to emerge from the shadows of yesterday. Eleanor's unexpected invitation to Sunday lunch caught Olivia by surprise. Until now, their relationship had been confined to afternoon teas in the conservatory. The formal dining room, with its imposing mahogany table and family portraits watching from gilt frames, marked a shift in their friendship. "I thought it might be nice to change our routine," Eleanor explained as Marcus served the first course. Michael sat across from Olivia, his usual wariness softened but still present. The conversation flowed pleasantly until Eleanor asked about Olivia's childhood. "My father always made our small backyard feel like a wonderland," Olivia reminisced. "John Anderson could make anything grow. He actually worked as a gardener for wealthy families in Pacific Heights for nearly 20 years. The sudden stillness around the table was palpable. Eleanor's spoon clattered against her bowl, while Michael's expression transformed from polite interest to stunned recognition. "John Anderson," Eleanor repeated, her voice barely audible. "Your father was John Anderson." Confusion swept through Olivia. "Yes, did you know him?" Eleanor and Michael exchanged a loaded glance that sent alarm bells ringing in Olivia's mind. "He worked here," Michael said finally, his voice strained. "The roses you admired. He planted them." The revelation struck like lightning, illuminating fragments of memory. A massive house on a hill, a boy showing her how to catch ladybugs in the garden, her father's calloused hands guiding her own as they pressed seeds into rich soil. "But that's impossible," Olivia whispered. "He never mentioned working for the Williams family." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "He wouldn't have. Not after what happened." The remainder of lunch passed in a blur. Both Eleanor and Michael deflected further questions, claiming old memories were sometimes unreliable, but Olivia saw the truth in their averted gazes. Something significant lay buried in their shared past. That evening, Olivia confronted her mother. Helen Anderson sat in her favorite armchair, a crocheted blanket across her knees, looking frail but with eyes that remained sharp despite months of chemotherapy. "Did Dad work for the Williams family?" Olivia asked without preamble. The color drained from Helen's face. "How did you learn that name?" Olivia explained her friendship with Eleanor, watching her mother's expression shift from shock to resignation. "Yes," Helen admitted finally, "for almost 20 years, until George Williams accused him of theft and dismissed him without references." The story unfolded like a dormant seed suddenly given water. John Anderson had been the head gardener for the Williams estate, creating the renowned gardens that still graced the property. 5-year-old Olivia occasionally accompanied him to work, where she befriended 10-year-old Michael. Their innocent friendship had enraged George Williams, who couldn't tolerate his heir associating with the help's daughter. "The theft accusation was fabricated," Helen explained, anger still evident in her voice decades later. "It was George's way of breaking the friendship between you and Michael, without admitting his prejudice." Across town, a similar conversation unfolded in the Williams mansion. Michael confronted Marcus, the only staff member remaining from that era. "Why didn't you tell me when she first started visiting Mother?" Michael demanded. The elderly butler sighed. "I wasn't certain at first. She was so young when it happened. And then, it wasn't my place to resurrect old wounds." Marcus revealed what Michael had been too young to understand, how his father had manufactured evidence against John Anderson, how the boy Michael had cried for weeks over losing his friend Livy, and how George Williams had forbidden anyone from mentioning the gardener's name again. "Your father believed he was protecting the family legacy," Marcus explained. "He couldn't see that some connections transcend social boundaries." Michael sat heavily in his father's study, childhood memories flooding back. A little girl with braids teaching him the names of flowers, laughter under the mango tree, and the confusing day when both disappeared from his life. The man he'd become had been shaped by that loss in ways he was only beginning to comprehend. The next morning, Olivia sent Eleanor a polite but firm message declining all future invitations. The revelation that her father had suffered such injustice at the hands of the Williams family made continuing their friendship impossible. She needed time to process this unexpected collision of past and present. 2 weeks of silence stretched between the Pacific Heights mansion and Olivia's modest apartment. She immersed herself in work and her mother's care, trying to reconcile the kind Eleanor with the family that had destroyed her father's career. The hurt felt fresh, as though the injustice had happened yesterday instead of 23 years ago. The call came on a rainy Tuesday evening. Eleanor had suffered a mild stroke. Despite everything, Olivia found herself rushing to California Pacific Medical Center, her heart pounding with concern for the woman who'd become important to her regardless of their complicated history. She arrived to find Michael in the waiting room, his usual composed demeanor fractured by worry. Their eyes met across the sterile space, mutual recognition of standing at a crossroads. "She's been asking for you," he said simply. Eleanor looked smaller against the white hospital sheets, but her eyes brightened upon seeing Olivia. No mention was made of their discovered connection. There would be time for that conversation later. Instead, they spoke of recovery and resilience, the older woman holding Olivia's hand as though afraid she might disappear again. When Olivia finally left the room, Michael was waiting with a weathered wooden box. "I found this in Mother's things while looking for her medication list," he explained, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "I think you should see what's inside." In the quiet of the hospital garden, Michael opened the box to reveal a collection of carefully preserved items, pressed flowers, children's drawings, and beneath them, a sealed envelope addressed to George Williams in familiar handwriting, John Anderson's. Olivia's hands trembled as she opened the yellowed paper and read her father's words. "Mr. Williams, I write not in anger, but in gratitude. Though the manner of my departure from your service was painful, my years tending your gardens brought me joy. The allegations against me, while untrue, I have chosen to forgive. Life is too brief to nurture bitterness where beauty might grow instead. I harbor no ill will toward you or your family. My only regret is that children's friendship, something pure and innocent, became collateral damage in the world of adult prejudices. May your son grow to see beyond the boundaries that confined your vision, and may your roses continue to bloom, regardless of who tends them. John Anderson. Tears streamed down Olivia's face as she absorbed her father's capacity for forgiveness. A final lesson from a man who had taught her so much about growth and resilience. "He never told us," she whispered. "All those years, he never spoke a word against your family." Michael's own eyes glistened. "He was a better man than my father deserved." After a pause, he added, "than I deserved." The revelation created a bridge between them. In the weeks that followed, as Eleanor recovered, Michael gradually revealed his own lifelong struggle against his father's expectations. He had abandoned his passion for architecture to run the family business, burying his true self beneath the weight of obligation. "The irony is," he confessed one evening as they walked through the garden his father had planted, "I've always felt more at home among growing things than in boardrooms. Perhaps that's why I was drawn to your father's gardens as a child." Spring arrived in San Francisco, bringing renewal to more than just the landscape. Michael reduced his role at Williams Financial to pursue landscape architecture, finding his way back to dreams long deferred. The garden became his canvas, as he honored John Anderson's legacy by learning the craft the gardener had mastered. Olivia channeled her discoveries into a screenplay titled The Silence of Seeds, a story of forgiveness and connections that refuse to be severed by time or circumstance. When Helen received her final all-clear from cancer treatment, they celebrated in the garden where Olivia and Michael had once played as children. Under the ancient mango tree that had witnessed their childhood friendship, Michael took Olivia's hands in his. "Some connections are meant to endure," he said softly. "Even when buried, they wait for the right season to emerge." Their rediscovered bond blossomed into something deeper, a love enriched by their shared history and strengthened by the knowledge of what they had overcome to find each other again. On the day of their wedding, held beneath that same mango tree, Marcus approached Olivia with a faded photograph showing John Anderson holding his 5-year-old daughter, while a young Michael stood proudly beside them. Tangible proof that their lives had always been destined to intertwine. Eleanor, fully recovered and radiant with joy, placed her mother's emerald ring on Olivia's finger. "Your father's forgiveness made this moment possible," she whispered. "Some gardens take decades to reach their full beauty." Among the roses John Anderson had planted, which had survived decades through dedicated care, Michael had added a new variety named John's Wisdom, a living monument to the man whose forgiveness had allowed love to flourish where bitterness might have taken root. The garden stood as testament to resilience, of plants, of relationships, of hope. It reminded all who entered that, when tended with care and forgiveness, even connections that appear severed can eventually find their way back to the light. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Olivia and Michael's story. If their tale of forgiveness, reconnection, and second chances touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We bring new emotional stories about life's unexpected connections every day, each one crafted to inspire and move you. Which part resonated with you most? Was it John's letter of forgiveness or the childhood friendship rediscovered? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be back tomorrow with another unforgettable story that might just change the way you see the world around you.